Xfinity gives you speeds faster than a gig to power a house full of devices. It's the fastest Wi-Fi you can get, and it's only from Xfinity. Can your internet do that? Learn more about the fastest Wi-Fi available, only from Xfinity, or other fast speed options. Get started with Xfinity Internet for $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year agreement. Plus, ask about speed 2 times faster than AT&T. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and autopay. Ends September 30th, 2021. Restrictions apply. New Performance Starter Plus 50 megabits per second internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change.
Happen to your car or home. Ready for the big explosion? Here we...
This scare tactic has been interrupted by AAA Insurance. With affordable auto and home insurance, plus America's most recommended roadside, AAA doesn't need scare tactics because we offer coverage confidence. Visit AAA.com for details and choose coverage confidence. AAA, outsmart life.
Amazon is offering sign-on bonuses up to $1,000. Plus, get up to $20 an hour for select roles. The best part? We're hiring near you. So start now to take home something greater. New, higher wages with a sign-on bonus, a range of real benefits, and career growth opportunities in a top-rated workplace. So earn more and see how great pay and sign-on bonuses can lead to a greater life for you. Go to Amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
That's why Xfinity gives you Wi-Fi speed faster than a gig to power a house full of devices. It's the fastest Wi-Fi you can get, and it's only from Xfinity. Can your internet do that? Learn more about the fastest Wi-Fi available only from Xfinity or other fast speed options. Get started with Xfinity Internet for $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year agreement. Plus, ask about speed 2 times faster than AT&T. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Again, Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today.
First off, Geico makes it easy to switch, and you can contact your local agent for personalized assistance.
But having a trusted insurer can make you question some not-so-trustworthy people, like the friend who says he doesn't want pizza, but when it comes, sure, he'll have a slice.
Well, if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds on car insurance, and you could keep saving by bundling your motorcycle, boat, and RV, plus your home or renter's insurance.
But saving money might make you so happy you start to skip everywhere, which could get you a nickname, the Skipper. And do you want that as a nickname? Think on it.
Well, they do have an industry-leading mobile app you can use to pay your bill, file and manage a claim, or add a new driver. And they offer discounts to military and federal employees.
But when your life gets a little easier, it makes you too carefree and you end up going barefoot everywhere, which is all fun and games until you step on a bee.
Well, Geico is the second largest car insurer in the country and has been saving people money for 85 years. It's hard to beat that.
But you're right.
Switch to Geico. It's obviously a good idea.
Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And the good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, we love you in Canada and Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south. In the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful July the 26th, 2021. Rondo Deportes, bonjour, Big C, de Vidi Vidi Vici. All is going for all you good old boys all over the country and the land of the free and the home of the brave. We do have a special guest coming in from the Olympics, the 2021 Olympics, by the name of August Wesley. We'll have him on in just a moment. I want to say you can follow Big C Sports powered by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars also all around the world. Just say Google or Alexa play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic. He'll do his thing sometimes, and sometimes not. It's all fair and love of war. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at us to a picture. Man, I love pausing, but I'll never pause on our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. If you know anyone going through crisis, just pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Also very happy to be affiliated with Valley, Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the first place San Francisco Giants. And then say, hey kid, as well as the home run king Barry Bonds. When you reach out to him, just tell him Big C wants tickets for the World Series. Because I think we're going to the World Series. Yeah, we, the San Francisco Giants. The goal is simple: recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country, helping to put their property listings on the market just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships do it, sports teams are doing it. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. Most of our loans are underwritten by Rocket Mortgage, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. When you want to be sure to get a loan, don't just be sure, be Rocket Sure, the #1 lender in the country on the wholesale side. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like God said in Genesis 1:3, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say it, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see all of our apps pop up from all over the world, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. We're going to take what's called the Big C Pause, and when we come back, we're going to talk to our friend from the Olympics, and he's part of one of the better wrestling coaches circuits in the United States. His name is August Wesley. We'll take the Big C Pause in the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. As I mentioned, you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow us all over the world, and I really do appreciate the growth we're having with Big C Sports. You can follow us on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs out there. We have a special guest, and when I say special, I really mean special. This man is amazing. I keep telling August that he needs to do some radio or some podcasts because he has a voice for it, and he's going to start doing it sometime this year. But I'm going to have him talk about what he's doing with the Olympics, talking about his background. I know he had some things going on with Iowa State University, and now he's moved on to bigger and brighter and greener pastures, working with a lot of people as part of the Olympic team and for 2020 and 2021 and all that training going into. August, thanks for being part of the Big C Sports Podcast. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing well.
I tell you what, August, everything, COVID has been so crazy. Everybody was put on pause the last year, but you guys, as a wrestler and coaching and being involved with all the people that are part of the Olympics, they can't stop training just because COVID is here. And now we actually have some athletes that are actually at the Olympics in Japan. And so just give me, on the first part, tell people who you are and then what you're doing and how you got to where you are now, your thoughts.
Wow. First of all, I just want to say thanks for taking time out to reach out to me. It's been a while since we talked, and just to see the level that Big C Sports has always raised the bar. You guys have been doing podcasts since before it was socially acceptable just to do podcasts.
Yeah.
And now that you can be found everywhere, Spotify, Comcast, it's amazing that you guys can reach everybody no matter where they are around the world. So First of all, I just want to say thanks for reaching out to me. I'm here in West Virginia, and it's a pleasure being on the show.
Sounds good, August. I really appreciate you. Now, I want you to take this podcast, and I want you to share with every person involved with the Olympics that you know. I'm not saying it for me. I appreciate you edifying Big C Sports, but I believe, like Jesus said, if you love me, feed my sheep. But I'm saying you have a gift, and you need to let people hear how you speak and edify your sport and also edify other people. Tell us how you got into the world of wrestling, whether it started in high school, on the college, and what you're doing now, August.
Wow. I started wrestling back in middle school. I have an older cousin. His name is Anthony Amato. He was on the 1988 Olympic team, and he's a past world placer, and he's in multiple Hall of Fames and the national college champion. So I went there for the summer, and next thing you know, I was going to wrestling practice, and it kind of got ingrained into my DNA at that point in middle school.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, I know from middle school you got into the high school circuit, So share with the country. I mean, we're all around the world. So share with people about August Wesley. How did you start at the high school level? Because there's a lot of high school kids that want to know, I'm a high schooler. How do I get started? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I went to Center High School there in Antelope, California, Go Cougars, and from being there and being part of their first wrestling program that they had, it was exciting for me, but at the same time, wrestling requires you to be disciplined outside and away from your coach, and that's what really differentiates wrestling with other sports. Football and basketball, they do everything in front of their coach, but wrestling, it takes diet and nutrition, sometimes watching your weight, and then, also the practice in front of your coach. So from that, my senior year, I made an international team, and I went to Australia, 1990.
Wow.
And so that just really lit the bug underneath me that I wanted to see the world through sports. I was a military brat living right there in McClellan Air Force Base housing in North Highlands area, and my stepfather, Alan McKinney, was Master Sergeant in the military, and from being in that environment, I've seen the things that Uncle Sam can offer you, but I just decided that I wanted to see the world through sports, and so I've been able to be successful in that, in my endeavors.
That's incredible. Obviously, people think about they want to be the next pro athlete, they want to be the next college All-American, they want to be the next whatever, but you paid homage to the military and part of the people who had an impact in your life. That's why we love giving out our Veterans Crisis Hotline also. So, August, tell me here, from being at the high school level, and there's a lot of kids at the high school level, they're very successful, and as you know, you get to that next level, and there's a lot of guys who are just as big, strong, and fast, and even more dedicated. What's your advice to a high schooler once they go to that college program to get to the top of that program?
I would say it has a lot to do with, the hard work and discipline you're going to do away from your coach. When I'm out there recruiting guys that are in high school, that are seniors, that are just on top of the ladder there, and then they're going to come and be a freshman in college. It's really the things that they've done to prepare. Their family support. Having a vision and sticking to your goals. And not letting anything sidetrack you, because as you know, we're all going to have tumbles, we're all going to have downfalls, and we're not going to be perfect in everything. However, if you can stick and stay true to your goals, anything can happen. And I'm living proof. I can tell you right now, there's no way at the age of 49 I should be able to say I've just become an Olympian. And so it's kind of still odd for me to say that out loud. But, my course starting from, 1990, I stayed the course. And I was in the 96 Olympic trials, and I was in the 2000 Olympic trials, and 2004 I was training for all of that. And I went to Athens, Greece, and was training, and I ended up getting injured, so I couldn't participate in those trials. But at a certain point, you have to really stay diligent of what your goals were. So for me, it just happened to open up in 2020 of all years, all time. So I would say being true to yourself and sticking with your plan.
That's amazing. I worked ever since I can recall being a young boy around professional athletes, and I've been around the church for the most part. My parents got me involved in that, especially my mother, my brothers, and I, always around athletics and seeing there's a discipline level that goes into it. And so you say you're 49. That means you're probably not sitting on the sofa eating a big bowl of ice cream. Does that make sense?
No, I'm not. I can say that it's been a lot of training. I mean, just kind of, it's really an interesting story if I can explain it. So, being here in West Virginia and training, and I get hired to come here to Wheeling University. It's an NCAA Division II school. So this area has been great to us. Rod Lee and members of the Elks Club has really embraced us and what we were trying to do. But I can tell you that I ended up going home, and I ended up having an opportunity to talk to the Cape Verdean Olympic Committee president, Philomena Fortes. And in talking with her, along with Raul Sole, they discussed their interest in wanting to add wrestling to their other Olympic sports. Now, since Philomena came in, there was only 9 sports. She brought that up to 23. She was very aggressive, adding fencing, boxing, everything, and now wrestling. And so with that, she charged myself and my son to go out and qualify for the Olympic Games. So we went and did that. We also was able to make contact with another person of Capo Verdean descent, Lee James. She's a former U.S. world U.S. national champion and world bronze medalist.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, we had a threesome that was awesome and ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, with my son, who's been an All-American in college, and he's placed at the national championship multiple years. And then myself, with my background, it made it really easy for us to motivate each other and keep going. And I speak to Lee all the time. I was just talking to her, and she's fabulous herself. So it's just to have that, but you had to have the lineage. And so with help from my uncle Rudy Almeida and my aunt Tina Almeida, they're my great uncles and aunts, they was able to give us our family history back to 1795, which placed me firmly in the country of Capo Verde, which is on the west coast of Africa. So then with my parents, Victoria Amato and August Brito, that with my birth certificates and all those kinds of things, it tied us in. So now that we were legitimate, we could go out and go ahead and try to earn our right to be there. So after we got identified as Olympians, which was exciting in itself, we traveled to Sofia, Bulgaria for the training camp and the World Olympic Trials in Sofia. So that was in April. So we're there training and competing with people from all around the country for over a month. And I mean all around. I mean Hungary. I mean Bulgaria. I mean Ukraine. I mean Chile and Colombia. And it was like 20 countries there. And so I'm not a spring chicken, Mr. Curry. I'm 49 years old. And I'm here banging with these 22, 23, 24-year-old guys. So you're right. I haven't been sitting on the couch. It's been a lot of discipline and eating smart and training and taking care of my body. But it's tough, you know, and you have those days that you sit there and you wake up and your body needs a break. But, you know, it's always worked for me to have that support group, you know, and my friends and family, you know, there in Sacramento, you know, that have been consistent and have tried to help motivate me when I need it. And my buddy Scott Huckleby with How Money Works, he's the Northern California rep. He's like, you got to keep doing this, man. Like, no one else deserves this opportunity but you. You have always stayed the course, either helping kids, motivating people to go to college, and now it's your opportunity. So it's just been fabulous, you know, for me to be in a position to do this. And there's one thing that I've lived that not many people can live.
What's that?
And people always say, if I knew then what I know now.
Oh, my goodness.
And I've got to live that. Everything I know now, I've got to implement to myself and my son, because we're training partners. And as we went at it with nutrition and diet and taking days off and running and lifting, so I got to live the best of both worlds. I couldn't be more happy for this opportunity.
August, let me, you know, you have a passion. I told you, this is your audition tape, and I mean this. I'm not just saying it. I want you to manifest that you're going to have a podcast that brings together every Olympic athlete. Okay, it may have started with Big C Sports Podcast, but if you just listen to the show when you're done, you'll understand what I'm saying. I want to, before I come up on a pause, you're 6-time gold medalist, okay, U.S. national team, 11-time individual medalist, 3 gold, 2 silver, 6 bronze, head coach World Sports Alliance USA wrestling team, head coach 25 years. August, think about this, the most decorated Greco-Roman wrestler and coach ever to come from Sacramento, a 2-time USA World Team member, competed in 2012 and the World Championships 2015, as well as participating in 1996 to 2000 Olympic trials. A 6-time medalist representing the United States. When you think about that, on 4 international teams, has over 25 years of coaching experience, has been selected 14 times to lead the United States teams in international competition in 24 countries. August is also known as one of the most successful college coaches. He guided teams at Sierra College in Sacramento. He guided teams at Iowa State University, as well as Sacramento State University, to conference and regional championships, while also, think about this, coaching at San Juan Jesuit and Indian High School in Northern California. Let's do this, August, because I want to ask you more about what's going on in the Olympics. Let's take what's called, we're going to take the Big C pause. It's going to take about 10 seconds. Just hold with us in a second. We'll be back in just a moment. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back.
All right.
All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps you can follow, and I really do appreciate the growth. with Big C Sports. You can also follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. And I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. Most people talk about the Olympics, and I'm talking to a gentleman who's been part of being in shape his whole life, part of being a coach or an athlete or a motivator his whole life, and he's going to start a podcast coming up soon, and I'm glad to have him on Big C Sports Podcast as we launch what we're doing with the Olympics competition. We're going to have more, shows on the Olympics coming up over the month, and then going into August. No pun intended, August. But at the same time, talk about some of the people that you know high up in the Olympics, and I want to use also the Big C Sports Podcast platform to get into the ears of every Olympic athlete that's paying attention to what's going on in Japan. Big C, your thoughts?
I think that it's definitely a platform. There's so many Olympic level athletes that no one knows about, and I'm talking here in the United States or abroad.
Yeah.
They're in the grind. They're trying to eat right and do right and work a part-time job and do everything possible.
Yeah.
But they don't have that outlet. So just the things that you guys do are fabulous, and I definitely would like to link you up with some other people that I know that are in the trenches and would love to have it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I talked to our Secretary General Raul Sole just after you and I spoke earlier, and I let him know what we was doing, and he said, this is fabulous.
Yeah.
Get us the link so we can get that out there to the young boys and girls of our country of Capo Verde. Capo Verde only has 545,000 people.
Yeah.
That's a small amount. I mean, that's like, California.
Yeah.
And just the fact to motivate them to do more, to see more. So for us to compete in the African Championships, they've never had wrestling before. For us to have a singlet on and represent them in the Continental Championships is huge.
Yeah.
So if they can use us to envision the future that they want to do, be it wrestling or another sport or just staying fit or sticking to your goals, I'm all for it. So it's been nothing but positive. Filomena Fortes, the Olympic Committee president, has had open arms through the whole process. And Leonardo, the delegation manager, who's at the Olympics right now.
Wow.
I mean, everyone has been so helpful, but I just think this is more than that. And I think that not just, and it's not about me. It's about, there's always someone that's got to come first, but I'm opening the door. We collectively, Lee for women and Anthony as well, we're opening the door for the next 20, 30, 50 years, generations to come through and want to be athletes for the country of Capo Verde. So we're just really excited and just appreciate the opportunity to be in this situation.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. I want you, if you can, again, this is Big C Sports, Charlton with Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide. We're heard all over the world on the Big C Sports podcast. We come out of Northern California, but we cover all over the world. And I want to ask, the Olympic competition, every human being wants to feel significant. Everybody wants to feel loved. We want to feel like we have a contribution to the world. And as you realize, the more you reach out, just like all life began on the African continent and then the diaspora all over the world, well, the Olympics brings everybody back together, even though they're telling the fans you got to stay away. But that spirit that makes you an Olympian is amazing. And I want to hear this again because maybe not many people heard about it, but you edified your son. And I think as a man of color, we don't see enough positive affirmations of young black kids. And I'm all for everybody, but I really have an affinity for African-American kids because I was one and I have a son and a daughter, and I want them to see people reaching out to them. Tell me more about your son, what you've done to get your son started, and then I want to also have your son on the program later in the week, but tell me more about your son and how you've been like a fixture in his life too, August.
Yeah, it was, I'm super proud of him. He's a hard worker. He's a great kid, but even more than that, he's self-motivated. Yeah. And, he started wrestling at a young age there in Northern California, and it just kind of took a toll. It just kind of kept him driving. He wanted to keep his grades up so he could practice, and he wanted to practice so he could go to tournaments and wrestle and win. And, he was undefeated his first year at 5 years old, and his second year he found himself in the state finals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's had success at a young age, but at the same time, he's always been grounded. We've never been the kind of family to have a wrestling mat at home or anything like that. When we went home, it was time to do your homework, whose turn was it for dishes, and clean up after the family dog.
Yeah.
So it was always real.
Well, hold on. You didn't. Hold on.
As he
August,
got a little older, yes.
Hey, August, are you saying with all the coaching, you didn't train your dog how to clean up after himself? Is that what you My dog does his own dishes.
I had to pick and choose my battles.
Okay, pick and choose your battles. It ain't like Marmaduke sitting down waiting to eat. That dog, if you're gonna eat, you better clean up after yourself. It's all fair and love and war. But I appreciate you edifying your son, because not oftentimes people say, well, they don't edify us enough, or they don't talk about us enough, or they don't show us in a good light enough. I think every father, just like Christ had Christ, the Son of God, right, edifies all people who come to Christ. So if you're a father and you don't take the time to edify your own children, then you can't blame they or them for not doing it. So that's why I love edifying my son. He gives me stats. My daughter gives me stats too. They've been on my show. I think every father should do that. But do me a favor. If you can just share this mindset, and we have about another few minutes before we come up on the pause, share this mindset that you see the impact you have on young men. Now, you're a 49-year-old young man. I thought you were 29 with all the energy you have. Maybe you were sucking in your stomach, but I think you had a six-pack last time I checked you. So what is it about the mindset of a 49-year-old being able to convince kids that are teenagers to listen to him?
You know, that's an interesting thing, because you got to meet them where they're at. Like, all jokes aside, you know, when you're working in high school, when you're working even in college, because those guys are 18, 19 years old, so they're kids still, but you got to meet them where they're at. But I got to say that the ability to edify and the ability to be patient and to also give discipline comes from examples that you have. My Uncle Tony Amato was a force with that. He was very consistent. He was very loving, but he would also discipline you when you had to. My older cousin Anthony Amato showed me how to train, how to be focused in what you want to do. But internationally, George Kalchev from Bulgaria, who helped us get to Bulgaria and participate in that. We're talking about somebody who's a dear friend of mine who understood our Olympic dream. So when you put all those things together, you're going based on scenarios that you've had in your past. That helps you relate to kids. My uncle Art Holt, another person who was influential in my life. So to talk to a kid and to not judge him, but be open, embrace him in what he wants to do, and help him towards his goals. Because I can tell you that when you're coaching at high school, like I did at Intercom and Jesuit High School, not everyone wants to be an Olympian. So you find out his goals and give him everything to put in his toolbox so he can be successful. But understanding it's the journey. It's not the one culmination of everything. It's the journey when you make friends that you're going to have for a lifetime. It's the people that you've leaned upon. It's the people that help give you rides. It's the people that had some extra fruit snacks for you when you needed something. So it's those relationship building things that I like to pour into kids, and I've seen the residuals in them do it to others. So it's been a beautiful thing being part of coaching and being a leader of men.
That's beautiful. I always very proud of my daughter. She graduated double majors with honors at a major university in 3.5 years. My son is honor roll, and he's a freshman in college. They're going to do great. I do want to edify your son before we close out. You know, when I think about Anthony Wesley, Iowa State University grad, scholar athlete, two-time wrestling, All-American, you know, Jesuit High School grad up in Northern California, currently master's program at Wheeling University. Tell us more about that. I believe that's a Division II university over on the East Coast.
It is, and it's a Jesuit school, so it's funny kind of coming back, you know, from going to Iowa State University, same colors as Jesuit Sacramento, and this school, same colors. So from high school through college and masters, he's had the same school colors, so it's been easy for him to coordinate, which is funny. But for him being a scholar athlete in high school and being part of the Portuguese club and the Asian club and being part of student leadership, he's always tried to lead from the front. And then when you take that, and then he went to Iowa State and was a scholar athlete and wrestler there, that even ran for president of the student body. So I mean, like, he's always been involved. And then to go ahead and to come here at a Jesuit university, it was Wheeling Jesuit, but now it's just Wheeling University. But to be part of that, and he has all A's, so he's looking to that cum laude type ending there. But it's just been awesome to see him grow and mature. And then when he embarked on this goal of to try to be an Olympian and to represent again, my older cousin was an Olympian, and so now with Anthony being an Olympian, you now have 3 Olympians in one family. That's one thing that many people can't say.
That's amazing, August. I tell you, also, I think you also mentioned about your son in Bulgaria. He beat 2 wrestlers that are currently ranked in the top 7 in the world.
Yes, he did. He beat the wrestler from Chile, had to come back. I could send you some footage.
Yep.
He had to come back to beat this wrestler from Chile, who ended up getting into the finals of the Pan Am Games 2 weeks later. So he beats him, and then he beats the wrestler from Brazil later on in the week.
Yes.
I did wrestle somebody from Kuwait. I beat him, the Kuwait Olympian, and it was the first time I had been on the mat in years. But I can tell you, I got goosebumps, chills, and more excitement watching my son turn up the heat on these athletes, and coming back and beating the wrestler from Chile, but dominating the wrestler from Brazil. So I just think that it's been phenomenal. And so just so you know, he's committed to wrestle to 2028 Los Angeles. So he will be active for Paris, and he will be involved in the African Championships. They're coming up in Morocco, October 19th to 24th. So we're still training. We're still getting after it. So we're nothing but thumbs up from us.
That's amazing. Before we're going to take what's called a Big C pause. When I come back, I want to just bring you back on, and if you can, tell us in the media, because we're heard all over the world. I want you to talk about the protocol for the Olympics in Japan, how you get the media pass and all that jazz that goes on. And give me about another 30 seconds. We'll take the Big C pause and come back. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts and so many other apps, Spotify, all over the world. Also, you can follow Big C Sports on television on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV. You'll be sitting there looking at a still picture. Also want to say Big C Sports is sponsored by your Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol and 100% on your game. It goes great with the Big C burger. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats, and it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hand. Now, August, I know you haven't heard of the Big C burger, but I'm trying to give all the people who get a gold medal, it's fun to have a gold, it's fun to have a silver, it's fun to have a bronze medal, but how many athletes get to eat the Big C burger when they're done winning their event, August?
I would love to have a Big C burger. To be honest with you, it's been a while since I've had a burger, and it would be great.
Hey, well, maybe you just showed me why I don't have a six-pack anymore, okay? I mean, if I eat too many burgers, is that what you're saying? It's all fair and level war. August, as we close out, number one, I thank you for being on the program, and I want to make sure that as much as possible, get the word out for all the Olympians about Big C Sports Podcast.
Absolutely.
Some people go to ESPN, but ESPN, they don't take someone who has put his word and his heart, mind, body, and soul into the program. Sometimes they want to take someone as they stand on the medal platform, whether gold, silver, or bronze. But you've worked with so many people. You've done such a great job at Iowa State, and obviously they got to find a place to go because the Big 12 is changing, like Oklahoma and Texas. They're going to the SEC. Yes. And so I want to ask you, what's going to happen with Iowa State's program, and then how do you deal with the media getting into the Olympics? Go right ahead.
Okay, so one, from what I've been told, and my son keeps a really close eye on that, being that he's an alumni now, but that's just in terms of football. Iowa State is going to stay Big 12. Okay. Their wrestling is going to stay Big 12. But those other programs, Texas and OU, are looking to leave just for football. So they're going to be an affiliate member for football, and all their other sports are supposed to stay in the Big 12. Yeah. Historically and just geographically where you have them. So I hope they do, because there's definitely some great rivalries with those other schools, and it's an exciting time. The SEC does have a lot of money, and there's guaranteed for bowl games, so I can see why they are looking at that. But let's just talk about Iowa State football. They kicked butt last year. They was in a major bowl. Everyone's tried to get their coach to leave, but he stayed put right there. The wrestling program, we had a national champion in David Carr. His father, Nate Carr, was an Olympian, Olympic medalist, and national champion for Iowa State. So I mean, you've got a lot of history there, and go Cyclones. We're worried about us, and let all those other teams figure what they want to do.
Yeah, sometimes people chase money as opposed to chasing what's in their heart. It's like I've heard people say you can marry rich or you can help someone help you get rich. It's the same thing, but one has a more meaning if you build it yourself, grow your own garden, spend time watering your own garden. But speaking of watering your garden as we close, just give people who haven't been able to go through all the fiasco of the Olympics in Japan. We were on pause. and now they've decided no people allowed other than some select media and, of course, all the athletes. What is that process like of getting a media pass and then being able to go to the Olympics whether you go or decide to stay home?
That's a layered question, but let me tell you from the athletics perspective, you had to not only go through qualification process and be identified as an Olympian from your own country, right? Just because the U.S. has Olympic trials and they identify who their Olympians are, they still have to go through the process of qualifying for the Olympic Games. So the Olympic trials just makes you our country's representative. Then there's yet another process, which is why we send all the wrestlers because maybe they didn't qualify certain weight classes or different things. So that's a little bit layered. But you had to have all your information in April. So myself, Anthony, we all had to have everything in, our pictures, our sizes, everything before, so that the Japanese government and Olympic Committee could approve of everything. Then they make all the things that I sent you, the identification that you wear. If you will look any event, you'll see people wearing those lanyards with their pictures. It says what sport you are, what country you're represented. Then you get those. You cannot enter the country without those. Not just that, but every national federation, every the World Track or Gymnastics, they give you a playbook onto the do's and don'ts, what you can and cannot do in Japan. So I'm in possession of that right now because we were still waiting for our wild card so we could go. Then we got told we weren't going to receive the wild card in fencing or wrestling. But since I'm an official with Capo Verde Wrestling Federation, I was still going to go as a delegate for that. So there's been some moving around, but the process is you cannot enter Japan without having your Olympic credentials, because if you look right now to try to fly in, it says restricted. You just can't get a ticket to Japan right now. So you have to have your Olympic credentials, and then you have to have a manifest of everywhere you're going to go when you're there, if it's the Olympic Village or if it's the apartments, what events you're going to be part of, what you're going to be doing. So a lot of things have come up, and just to set the record straight, there's only been about 5 cases of COVID. The whole 60 cases is not true. I speak to Leonardo, our delegation leader, who's there right now. We talked right before the opening ceremonies, and the numbers aren't what the media is saying. So just to set the record straight, they are under 10. The Olympics is doing a fabulous job with keeping everybody safe, keeping them separate, and also trying to give that Olympic spirit, because that's what it's all about. Let's take away the medals. The ability to represent your home nation at the highest level only every 4 years. I mean, you can't ask for much more, which is why these NBA players go and play for their countries, which is why these golfers come back and do it, tennis pros, everyone does it, because there's nothing like representing your people. So there's a sense inside you of pride when you get to do that. So you're not just representing yourself when you're eating that Big C burger or you got that gold medal. So you feel a certain kind of way when you're up there representing. So I just that's kind of how it works. I hope I made that clear. And that's what we had to go through, which is why we have Olympic credentials right now. So that's why we can call ourselves Olympians, because we were identified as the Olympians to represent Capo Verde. But I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for to be here and to speak and know that worldwide I'm going to send this out. People are going to have this. I have friends in multiple countries all over the world that are going to get this. So please understand that Big C Sports, you in particular, Mr. Curry, you're going to get calls. You're going to get people looking at it, Googling it, trying to find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I mean, they're going to be looking for this, because I'm sure I'm just the first of many, and you give opportunities to everybody, being a celebrity, a pro, or an amateur like myself. So I can't thank you enough for the opportunity.
Well, I thank you too. I was introduced to you by another great gentleman that had introduced me to you back in the day, so I appreciate that, and that's with Al. I want to close off on one more thing. Can you tell people what you're doing, where they can find what you're doing? They can always Google Big C Sports Podcast, and I thank you for the edification. But where can they find out about August Wesley, what you're doing? I know you're representing the United States. Think about that. Big C Sports is talking to someone that's representing the United States of America. World Champions has been in the 2012 Budapest, 2015 in Athens, Greece, major international competition in 2015 in San Juan, 1999 Guatemala City, 1999 La Paz, 1990 Sydney. That's part of Big C Sports Podcast today. I just had someone from Disney on Friday, going to be also featured in a movie with, I guess, Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse. I hope they put me on with Minnie Mouse. Mickey Mouse is kind of intimidating. Would that make sense? Hey, I got to tell you one funny story. Because, everyone loves Disneyland because of Mickey Mouse or Disney World. And one time I was going to take a group of kids, my family to Disneyland. And sometimes, things happen, so we weren't able to go to Disneyland that week. So we told them to Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese has a mouse also. They said, that's not Disneyland. That's not the Mickey Mouse. That makes sense to you?
Not even close. And Chuck E. Cheese is a lot bigger. He comes out, he dances, he gets down with the people. So he's out there.
They're like, this is not Mickey Mouse. I said, it's still a mouse. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's all fair and level. And I mean that because Big C Sports is not the same thing as every other platform out there.
It's not.
So
No, it's not. It's not. And let me just say a couple things.
Yeah.
I can appreciate the fact that you brought spirituality into it, because I can tell you I'm not here on my own accord.
Yeah.
If it hasn't been for my ancestors, it hasn't been for our records back to 1795, it hadn't been for my Uncle Rudy and Aunt Tina Almeida that gave me these family records, would place my great-grandmother there with her birth certificate and these kinds of things. I went there myself. I'm not just talking about representing the country. I've never been there. I went to Capo Verde.
Yeah.
I was in Praia. I know where my family is from, Fogo and Santa Cloud or St. Nicholas. I know where my people are from. So when I took my mask down in May and people said, oh, I know right where you're from. I know where your people are from. So I can't sit here and say that I did this all myself. It was my ancestors that opened up these gates for me to have this opportunity.
Yep.
It was people praying for me. It was people well wishing. It was Scott and Artie Holt and these people that had faith in me that I could get it done. You know what I mean? So I can't sit here and say I did it alone. It was my son deciding that he would embark on this journey with me, because I couldn't have trained alone.
Yeah.
And how does that feel as a father to sit there and wrestle and train and blood, sweat, and tears with your son? So I can't. It's not me. I'm just one of the cogs that have been in the circle making this whole thing work. So it's just beautiful to be able to talk to you about it now. But really, it's taken the village in the literal sense, the entire village and everybody that has helped to get where we are now.
My goodness, I love praising God. I'm one of the only sports shows in the universe that says praise God in quotes. When you talk about Genesis 1:3, even God said, let there be light. I mean, that's a fact. Let there be light on a lot of things, and not just how big, tall, and fast somebody is. That's why I appreciate you, August. But final question I want to throw at you, and if you got about a minute, where can people look and find August Wesley? I know they can find you on Big C Sports Podcast, but where can they find August Wesley going forward?
Yes, so they can find us. Our IG is CV Wrestling Federation. That stands for Capo Verde Wrestling Federation. That's on IG, and also I'm personally on IG with one August W at IG, on IG. So I mean, I can tell you this technology is kind of a little bit newer to me. I haven't needed it. I like to recruit the old-fashioned way. I like to talk to student athletes and their parents. Yeah. But people want to follow you, and they want to look and see what's going on, and so that's how they can follow us. It's super exciting to be able to do that and be able to know that we could be a world away from somebody and they can still help you. A world away and you can motivate them. A world away and you can make a difference. But just so we know, on the 8th day, God created wrestlers.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. I'm going to tell you, I really appreciate you, because Big C Sports is going to be a part of every NFL football media. We're going to talk to every team this year, and also college football programs. We're going to talk to probably about a good 50 of them this year with Big C Sports. And every Olympic athlete will know about Big C Sports because of you and the Olympic Committee. In August, I want to say I appreciate you being on the show. I ask that God bless you and your family, keep you safe, and always, no matter what you do, always go forward. Okay, my man?
Thank you so much.
I thank you. That was the great August Wesley. Whenever you want to know about the Olympics, he's a representative for the United States of America. That means it's pretty big. It's all fair and level. We'll take what's called the Big C pause. In the words of the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, we'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe, just like God said in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light, and I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports. We just had on United States of America Olympic representative, the great August Wesley, a multiple intelligent, fascinating, talented individual. Really appreciate August Wesley and what you were doing here on the Big C Sports podcast. Also around the world, and sometimes around the universe in the Olympics, the great Simone Biles got caught up in a rough day for Team USA Gymnastics, even though the greatest gymnast of all time. She's not perfect. 4-time Olympic gold medalist. Registered a couple of stumbles. Who doesn't stumble every now and then? Penalties in her initial performance, and it cost the USA just a couple of points. But she's going to be okay. If you can be the very best in the world, she's only 24 years old. 24 years old, the reigning all-around champion, and still topped the overall standings, but had a few uncharacteristic, kind of some flip-flops. But she'll be back on her feet, and everybody does. And I just want to say to everyone, no matter what you are, it doesn't matter how good you are or how accomplished you are. All you got to do is keep getting up, and as my mom says, you rise and shine. It doesn't matter what people think about you. It doesn't matter if you win every day. All you got to do is keep trying. Whether Simone Biles or the great August Wesley, we have some Olympians who get up every single day, and they don't just perform that day. Their whole life is about performing. They get up and rise and shine. So no matter who you are, if you rise and shine, you always have a chance. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers deciding to rise and shine, coming back to join the Green Bay Packers. I guess when money talks, people listen. The great E.F. Hutton, and deciding that he would rather join the Green Bay Packers than pay a fine or lose out money. But I really think it's good for the Green Bay Packers organization that they figure out a way to mend fences. All people in life, there's no perfect people. At some point in time, we're going to be like the person trying to cross the street, and we just need someone to hold our hand. And sometimes people hold your hand. Other times people let your hand go. But in life, you're either going to be a giver or a taker. Make sure you give life to people. If you love me, feed my sheep. We heard that before. That's what Christ taught us. If you love me, feed my sheep. Every good parent, they feed their sheep. And you've got to feed your sheep in business. You got to feed your sheep in your health, in your family life, whatever you do. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to appreciate you. But if you can get up every day and you rise and shine, you always have a chance. So Simone Biles or August Wesley, they'll find their way in the world. I think August has done such a great job of working with his son and other youth, whether it's from Iowa State or Jesuit High School or Endicott High School in Northern California, are now part of the United States Olympics. And then being on Big C Sports Podcast today. There are people who will go on ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever sports they're on, but to have the United States Olympics involved with Big C Sports Podcast on this beautiful day of July 26, 2021. You heard it with your own ears. It's all fair and level. Everyone always go forward, rise and shine, do the very best you can. We love the game of baseball, August. And August, don't give the secret to the Big C Burger. It's more guarded than Kentucky Fried Chicken. And Kentucky Fried Chicken, Colonel Sanders, he's not giving out that ingredient to nobody. And neither will the Big C Sports. All I can tell you is it comes with exotic meats, and it is a tasty burger. I know everyone loves the game of baseball. The pitch, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run! Say hello to my little friend, the great Scarface, Tony Montana. The women love the long ball, and men love hit it deep. Is all fair and level. Where today's schedule, you have the Atlanta Braves at the New York Mets, the Washington Nationals at the Philadelphia Phillies, the Toronto Blue Jays by way of Buffalo at the Boston Red Sox at the Green Monster. The Cincinnati Reds in Chicago, the Windy City, taking on the Cubs. The Chicago White Sox, the great Tony La Russa. He must be a guy that drinks no-dos for breakfast because he's up in age, but he's still doing his thing with the young men. So, August, I think you and I have nothing on Tony La Russa. He's older than we are, and he's still doing his thing with young men. It's all fair in love and war. Chicago White Sox at the Kansas City Royals. The Detroit Tigers at the Minnesota Twins. The Atlanta Braves again taking on the Mets. The Colorado Rockies taking on the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim with the great Shohei Ohtani. And the Houston Astros taking on the Seattle Mariners. And that's the world of Major League Baseball. I still hope, and I'm thinking, that Big C Sports along with Disney can get a chance. Uriah Matthews is going to give me a chance to get some tickets with Disney as well as Big C Sports podcast for the 2021 World Series. And I'm hoping that it's going to be the San Francisco Giants or the Los Angeles Dodgers. Somebody from the West Coast so I don't have to walk as far. Or if I'm going to walk, drive, or fly. I don't want to get on planes right now. I'll do the John Madden way. I'll take the train, or I'll take the bus, or I'll maybe just drive. Flying a little bit scares me. It's all fair in love and war. I want to thank August Wesley for being on with the United States Olympics team, and it's just amazing how God has shined the light on Big C Sports Podcast. So football, are you ready for some football? Yeah, we all ready for football. Touchdown! Interception, he's gone all the way! Old man Wooly from the Raiders back in the day. But there's a quarterback in town. His name is Touchdown Aaron Rodgers for the Green Bay Packers. And Big C called it earlier because I haven't heard a thing from Aaron Rodgers. Let Aaron Rodgers come on and talk about what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. And now there's talk, it appears, that the great touchdown, we call him Touchdown Aaron Rodgers because he's a touchdown machine. A long summer frustration for some people with the Green Bay Packers will end up where it all started with the reigning Associated Press NFL MVP player under center for the green and gold, the Green Bay Packers, Lambeau Field. And I think what Aaron Rodgers is showing people is just like most people, they never give out their ATM card number. They don't give it out. Most people, they never give out their bank statements. Unless you're trying to apply for a loan, they don't just give it out to the world. So Aaron Rodgers understands. He's from California. I think he went to Pleasant Valley High School in Northern California near Chico. And then he went to Butte Junior College. And he went to Cal Berkeley. And when he went to Cal Berkeley, he learned how to market himself. You get the people waiting for anticipation. Just like all the Olympic athletes for 2021 in Japan, they're all waiting for the Big C Burger. They know it's a tasty burger. They know it comes with exotic meats. But we're not going to tell them how to get it. They got to get it through Big C Sports. When you follow Big C Sports Podcast, then you have access to the Big C Burger. But I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers because the NFL has one of the marquee quarterbacks. Rodgers, he's indicated to people close to him that he does not plan to play football for the Packers this season. But the NFL and all the insiders, they know that he's going to play. The Rodgers, a 37-year-old, not looking to retire. But there's now optimism in recent contract negotiations. He's going to be reported to training camp this week. That's important. The Green Bay Packers CEO, Mark Murphy, he cautioned during Monday's press conference that he doesn't know if or when his quarterback will show up. He's an all-pro. Why would he not show up? Why would someone not do something they love? Anyone listening, all of you Olympic athletes, and we just had the great August Wesley on, when God shines on you and gives you a chance to do something that you love, why would you not show up? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you not water your own garden? People spend all day watering the garden that don't even belong to them. They get up and go into an office where they don't own the business. They drive up and down the highway to go work for somebody, building their dreams instead of building their own. And then God shines on you and says, let there be light. And shines on you, gives you exactly what you've been asking and praying for. And then you quit. It doesn't make any sense. Rodgers not going to quit. Green Bay offers a 9-time Pro Bowler, have included guarantees beyond this season and triggers what would further lock him into not only, the pro team he's ever known, but when I think about it, he's been coming up on his 16th season. There's a possibility of an extension being reached in April before negotiations stall. Maybe they didn't stall. Maybe they just went on pause. Maybe they went on pause for everybody else. And the Packers have said they want him back. They're committed to him in 2021 and beyond, looking forward to winning another Super Bowl with him. They've only won one with touchdown Aaron Rodgers. Not trading at the draft Jordan Love in the first round of 2020 probably would have had, made a smoother path. But Rodgers got to be real. If you care about your organization, you don't put them at odds with trying to go forward. You got to put them in the driver's seat of going forward. And that means you got to have a building block. Just like when you came on, they had Brett Favre. That's important. So I hope that happens, that they find a way to smooth things over and find a way to play sports together. It's all fair in love and war. Let's talk about some things with LeBron James and Giannis, King Giannis Antetokounmpo, and how they could get together. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be on the same team. There's always people who pontificate about things, and they want to be the first to give the news. But look at every media pundit who said, I know what Aaron Rodgers is going to be. He's going to be with the Oakland or the Los Angeles Rams or the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders left town. Oh, he's going to be with the Las Vegas Raiders. No, I know he's going to sign with the Denver Broncos. Just Google some of the names of people who said that, as opposed to waiting, like Big C said. Wait until he says where he's going to be, because that's the only thing that matters is when he tells you where he's going to be. And he's going to stay with the Green Bay Packers. And that's important because he and Touchdown Adams, they have a good things going, and they don't want to mess it up just for anybody else. And you'll hear a lot at Lambeau Field. It'll be 1st and 10, 20-yard line. We have 4 wideouts, 5-man front. Rodgers in shotgun formation. Rodgers the snap. He's rolling to his right, rolling, throws downfield. It's caught. Touchdown, Green Bay. Devontae Adams. You'll hear a lot about that coming up on the season as he'll throw touchdown passes to maybe the best receiver in the NFL, also out of Northern California by the way of Palo Alto High School and also Fresno State and Adams. So they have a good thing going in Green Bay. People got to learn to make up, and when you make up, you go forward, or you can always quit. Life is full of quitters, but there are no awards at the Olympics given for people who quit. You only get a medal when you win. And the new medal that August Wesley just announced today on Big C Sports Podcast, not only will you get the gold, or you get the silver, or you get the bronze, but everyone who attends the Olympics, whether you place or not, you all get the Big C Burger. They get the Big C Burger, August. It is a tasty burger, and it comes with exotic meats. It goes great with the Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol. Listen up, U.S. Olympic Committee. It has 0% alcohol, but it's 100% on its game, so no one can be accused of having libations whenever they're trying to win that race at the 2021 Olympics in Japan. But back to touchdown Aaron Rodgers. I just think that this man has been on top of the world the last couple of years playing football, and he's going to keep shining. His light is going to shine, and it's going to shine bright. And people got to think about it when you're saying, oh, touchdown Aaron Rodgers is going to retire. Again, I ask anyone in life. There's a lot of people every day that get up and they hate what they have to do for work. They hate their jobs, but they do it anyway because they got to eat. And then there are those who God shines on you, and you're able to do what you want. I'm talking to young people. You're able to do what you want. No one says it's going to be easy. In fact, you may be the only one that actually believes in yourself. But as my mom always says, if you rise and shine, then you have a chance. But if you quit, you have no chance. If you rise and shine, you always have a chance. And touchdown Aaron Rodgers has been rising and shining, and he's going to keep rising and shining. That's just my opinion, and he's going to do it with the Green Bay Packers. Here's a guy that in his NFL career, he's thrown for over 51,245 yards. That's a lot. 51,245 yards. Why would he quit? Why would he quit? He's thrown for 412 touchdowns. Why would he quit? 51,245 yards, 412 touchdowns. Why would he quit? So I just encourage young people. There's a message. I think you heard it from August Wesley. He started in wrestling as a young boy. And then he went on to the elementary level. He honed his skills in high school, went on to college, became one of the best wrestlers in the United States of America. And all the Olympic stuff that he talked about, you can listen to what he said in the podcast. He did it because he didn't quit. I can almost guarantee you. In fact, I have a quiz, and I'm going to have everyone in the world take this quiz. You heard it first on Big C Sports. Every athlete, listen up. I'm going to give you a guaranteed 100% fail-proof. Guaranteed. What if you heard guaranteed before? I'm going to give you a 100% guaranteed way to fail. I'm going to give it to you. Ironically, I can't take credit for it. I was at a restroom at a 24-hour fitness in Walnut Creek, California, over near San Francisco, Oakland. It was right around the 90s. And I went to use the men's room, as a lot of guys do. Some guys in the Olympics, they don't got time to use the restroom. They just got to let it roll. They got to let it roll. They got to walk it in the rain. Remember that song, Milli Vanilli? Walking in the rain. When you're running the Olympics, you got to use the restroom. You don't have time to run off the track and run into the restroom. You got to let it roll. Wherever you got to let it roll, they let it roll. But in the restroom, I heard some of the greatest advice I've ever seen in my life. I read Think and Go Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read a lot of things on business. But at the same time, it said, I can guarantee your failure. You can kill your business in 3 simple steps. It said, number 1, don't advertise. That's a clue. You want to kill your business, don't advertise. Write this down, young kids. You can kill your business in 3 simple steps. Number 1, don't advertise. Number 2, don't advertise. That's a clue. You can kill your business in 3 simple steps. I'll give you number 1 and number 2. Don't advertise is number 1. Don't advertise is number 2. The third way you are guaranteed to kill your business and therefore kill your dreams. And 3 simple steps, don't advertise. That's 3. Something about the number 3. A business partner of mine that's talking about manifesting $6 billion understands what that means. I guarantee that you can kill all your dreams in 3 simple steps. Make sure you don't advertise, number 1. Make sure you don't advertise, that's number 2. And make sure you don't advertise, that's number 3. I'm going to tell you one more way that I'll guarantee it, that you can fail in life. When God gives you the chance to have your dreams, guaranteed way to fail. Number 1, make sure you quit. Number 2, make sure you quit. Number 3, make sure you quit. If you follow those 3 simple steps, I guarantee you will fail. I guarantee you will quit. All you got to do is quit. But the antithesis of that, if you want to grow your business, like Big C Sports Podcast, just growing this business today. Last week we had Disney Corporation in growing our business. Today we had the United States Olympics on Big C Sports, growing our business. I guarantee if you want to grow your business, you got to follow these steps. And it's so simple. Write it down. If you want to follow these steps, you write it down. You advertise your business. That's number 1. Number 2, you advertise your business. Number 3, you advertise your business. I'm advertising Welcome to the Show every Monday through Friday at 5 or 6 p.m. worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, Big C Sports Podcast, available to millions of people all around the world. And Big C Sports, we bring you the NFL, we bring you the NBA, we bring you Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, college football, soccer, track and field, wrestling, Olympics. We do everything, even add some entertainment. And that's what you get on Big C Sports. The same program that a lot of people told me when I was starting out, oh man, you're never going to make it. You're leaving Salem Media. Why are you leaving Salem Media? We brought their program to number 1 in the country, and they're in 112 markets. We did that in about 2 months. We even brought Monday Night Football to a financial news network. Once we left, they tried some shenanigans, so we decided to go do our own thing. And I don't know what happened to that program, but I know they're no longer doing Monday Night Football. I'm just edifying God, because God's opened doors, and I'm asking God for every opportunity. I'm not afraid or ashamed to say God is the reason that I have everything that I have, and there's more great things coming. And I appreciate every young person that's trying to do whatever you can in life. Number 1, just tell every sports athlete, follow Big C Sports. I guarantee you, you will never hear me call a black man a freak. As mainstream media, they call a NBA basketball player a freak. But there was a person who was part of the Japanese Olympics opening ceremony. They had an anti-Semitic statement and they pulled them off the air immediately. But they allow you to call black men freaks. We're not a freak. I'm not a freak. August's son is not a freak. I'm not a freak. My kids are not freaks. We're kings and queens, and I want everyone to acknowledge that. But you got to be careful who you allow into the hearts, minds, and souls of your children. I look at black men as kings and queens. I look at all people as equality. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, don't judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Never call people freaks. We're not freaks. We're always going to rise and shine. I want to thank August Wesley for being on the Big C Sports Podcast. I thank every Olympic committee and athlete for going out there rising and shining. I appreciate everybody that's been a part of Big C Sports now and in the future. All you got to do is tell a friend, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will see our app pop up all over the world, even part of the Olympics in Japan. It's all fair and level war. Everyone rise and shine. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young men rumble, with all you've got to use. How can you lose? What are you looking forward to in this sports universe? I know everyone's looking forward to the Olympics. NFL camp is starting for a lot of teams. We'll even have some preseason games coming up in August. And I'm just excited about what's going on with the growth of Big C Sports. As my mama always says, there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and ask for help. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.